Good morning, I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. Let's get right to the latest on the war in Ukraine this morning. Explosions, fire, and a frantic rescue effort in a residential suburb of Kyiv after Russian airstrikes hit a 15-story apartment building, trapping several people inside. Ukrainian officials say at least 2 people have died. This as Russian forces edge closer to the center of the capital and ramp up attacks on key cities like Mariupol, where city officials say more than 2,500 civilians have been killed. Still, Ukrainians say they won't give up without a fight.
We have dozens of thousands of people just in Kyiv, in Civic Guard. And if they will penetrate the city, we will make hell here for them. So they could not take Kyiv.
In neighboring countries, the refugee crisis is growing more desperate by the day. The UN now estimates nearly 3 million people have fled the violence.
Save us, children, please. Please.
Today, peace talks are set to continue after they were put on pause yesterday, and 3 European prime ministers are actually traveling to Kyiv to meet Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy in person. They're calling it a European Union mission to show support for Ukraine. In a major moment here in the U.S. tomorrow, President Zelenskyy is set to address Congress virtually as he pushes for more help from America. We have a team covering it all for you this morning. National security analyst Clint Watts is tracking Russia's movements, and Capitol Hill correspondent Ali Vitali has more on what to expect in President Zelenskyy's address to Congress. First, though, let's get to our Ali Arouzi on the ground in Lviv, Ukraine. So, Ali, Ukrainian and Russian officials are meeting today for more talks. Ukraine's president seems somewhat optimistic about yesterday's meeting. How did that go, and any word on what's happening today?
Hi, Joe. Well, yesterday's meeting, the Ukrainians outlined their position very clearly. Their demands were an immediate end to the war and the fighting and the complete withdrawal of all Russian troops from Ukraine. They said that there was no room for negotiation on those demands and that they were not going to accept any ultimatums from the Russians. But on a positive slither as well, they said that the Russians were listening. They were being more sympathetic to the Ukrainian demands. So there is possibly some room for negotiation there, but it's still very early days, and those negotiations haven't resumed again today. An advisor to the Ukrainian government, who I have to stress wasn't involved in those talks, also predicted that the war may be over in 2 weeks because he said the Russians are going to get bogged down and run out of resources. He said if that scenario doesn't happen, then the Russians may launch a very ferocious attack and possibly use foreign fighters. So those talks today, very key. At least what they want to come out of those is opening up more humanitarian corridors.
That is definitely a key request right now. So despite the peace talks, Russia is stepping up its attacks in and around Kyiv. This morning, there was a Russian airstrike that hit a building about 18 miles from the Kyiv city center. Now we're learning the leaders of Poland, the Czech Republic, and Slovenia plan to meet with Zelenskyy later today in Kyiv. What are you learning about this visit, and just how risky is this?
That's right. Those prime ministers you just mentioned are going to visit Kyiv later. It's, as you just described, Joe, Kyiv is a dangerous place. There was a relentless bombing campaign overnight in the early hours of the morning. Buildings were hit. It's a scene of some urban sort of warfare. A lot of the attacks are coming from a district called Irpin, which is a suburb of Kyiv. So it's a very dangerous place. But they're going there to show solidarity with Ukraine, with Zelenskyy. They're saying that they're going there to show their unequivocal support from the entire European Union. They're also going to provide some aid packages for the Ukrainian people there. So it's a mission of support. But as you mentioned, it's also a very dangerous place. There is a lot of fighting there. I've heard reports this morning that the Ukrainian army are blowing up bridges there to stop the advance of the Russians, to make it more difficult for them to take Kyiv. So it's a very dangerous place. We've seen Richard's reports there. As the Vietnamese used to say, you have to destroy the village to save the village.
And quickly, Ali, while we have you, Ukraine is planning to open 9 humanitarian corridors today. What do we know about those?
That's right. They're opening 9 corridors. 4 of them are going to be in and around the Sumy region, which is in the northeast of the country. They're hoping to get people out of those very hardly battered parts of Sumy. About 4,000 people got out of that devastated city of Mariupol yesterday. I have to stress 4,000 people is only 1% of the city, but at least 4,000 people got out of there. There is a convoy of aid and humanitarians, trucks and cars trying to get in, about 60 of them. They've been trying to get in for the last 4 days. They haven't gotten in yet. They're still trying to get in today, and those are essential to get in because that humanitarian aid needs to flow in, and they've also got empty buses on that convoy to take civilians out of very hard-hit Mariupol.
Water, power, and food, all key issues there. All right, Ali Arouzi, thank you so much.
Now, for more on the situation on the ground in Ukraine, let's bring in Clint Watts. He's a distinguished research fellow at the Foreign Policy Research Institute and an NBC News national security analyst. Clint, good morning. So let's, of course, start with Kyiv. Russian forces have been pummeling the city, as Ali just outlined, as well as other cities across Ukraine. Kyiv's mayor says two high-rise buildings were hit by shells. The Ukrainian military has already lasted much longer than experts believed it would. I remember in the first few days of this, us all watching Kyiv, wondering what would happen, and here we still are. So give us a sense of what the situation is in that city right now and how much longer can they hold on to their capital?
Yeah, so Kyiv is very interesting situation that's been unfolding because the Russians just haven't advanced much. Last week, we were talking about them in Irpin. You're starting to see some dismounted infantry, some armor moving around, and I think they're just trying to establish blocking positions to the west. Separately, what we see here in the north is these axes of advance. The big change last week was armor columns coming in from the east. But again, Ukrainian military using artillery fire, using drones, very low-cost, reasonable drones, taking out these armor columns and really bringing them to a halt such that they need to resupply. Ultimately, over here to the west, you see them trying to encircle. They will try to encircle here to the south. And that was exactly what we were hearing there, that they really need to the Russians need to cut off these resupply routes. The Ukrainian military is held very well. And this is an intense urban fight. You're talking about needing maybe 6, 8, 10 to 1 in terms of Russian soldiers to Ukrainian soldiers to try and get into this guerrilla warfare in this town. It's going to be very intense. Most of the Russian military not built for this. These are armor columns that are designed for wide open terrain, large fires, use of indirect fires. That's not what this fight is going to be. They need dismounted infantry. I think that's why you're seeing calls for foreign fighters from other countries coming in, the use of mercenaries maybe over time.
And now if Kyiv does fall, Clint, to Russia, what does that mean for the rest of Ukraine? What happens then?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, I think the bigger picture in terms of where Russia has found more success has been in the south, but also in the east. So let me jump first to this. In the east here, you see they've encircled several of these towns. They've hit massive resistance around Kharkiv. They're essentially leveling this with indirect fire and trying to bypass it. They want to establish a logistics corridor between these cities somewhere inside Ukraine across the Russian border. They're having a hard time doing this. Now, down south, something different is unfolding. In the south, you're seeing that they're finally starting to have some ships come in to the Sea of Azov. This is some of the first reporting on that. Last week, we saw them also using rail in this area. So they're starting to set up their resupply lines, which means that they would be able to resupply quicker to sustain their advance up here to the north. And I think that's what to look for is, do they try and move from Zaporizhia to Dnipro? And then this pitched battle that's happening here in Mykolaiv, the Ukrainian military doing very well, but how long can they hold out here in the south? And what would they do if they had lost Kyiv as well?
Yeah, Clint, I understand one of the reasons that the Russian invasion has taken, longer than anyone expected has been the surprising effectiveness of these Ukrainian drones. Now, these are slower, I understand, than a Cessna. Why have they been so effective against the Russians?
Well, it comes down to the Russians just not being able to maintain air superiority inside Ukraine. When we watched last week from the big picture around Kharkiv, the Russians lost many jets in this area. Separately, you're seeing them also lose all sorts of helicopter assets at different times, especially along this eastern area. If you don't have air superiority, you can't really take those drones down separately. The Russian forces in these columns, they just don't seem to have the anti-aircraft from the Russian perspective to go after these drones as well. So it's pretty remarkable to watch that very low-cost, essentially, drones are able to conduct a lot of these air raids. And I think that points to why that argument about the MiGs last week, why bring in, just a handful of MiGs when you can bring in so many of these low-cost drones that seem to be having pretty outsized effect.
All right, Clint Watts, as always, thank you.
Congress is preparing to hear directly from Zelenskyy in a virtual address Wednesday morning. Throughout the war, the Ukrainian president has been pushing the U.S. and NATO for more assistance. That includes repeated requests to impose a no-fly zone to stop deadly airstrikes. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said that his speech will be a major historical moment.
It's such a privilege to have this leader of this country where these people are fighting for their democracy and our democracy. They're fighting for democracy writ large.
NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ali Vitale joins us now with more on this. So, Ali, Zelenskyy has made speeches like this to other countries. What can we expect Congress to hear from him tomorrow when he's speaking directly to American politicians?
Look, he's made speeches like this in other countries, and he's also spoken with members of Congress before. The Senate and the House lawmakers meeting with him over the last few weeks. Of course, those have been closed-door sessions where we've been able to see the lawmakers themselves read out the meeting. This is going to be different because we will actually be able to see this address on a feed at the same time that the members who are physically in the room at the Capitol are listening to it as well. And it fits into this larger argument that's been happening here in Washington and on Capitol Hill surrounding the issues that you just talked about, the kind of support that Zelenskyy has been asking for from NATO allies, but specifically from the U.S. He's been talking about that no-fly zone. He's also been pressuring for those Polish planes, the MiGs that Clint was just talking about there. That's a conversation that's been happening widely on Capitol Hill. The other story here has really been the role that the House and the Senate have played in this. They have regularly been keeping the pressure on the administration. A lot of this stuff are things that the administration themselves have to decide. Congress, though, has been doing a good job of what they can legislatively, doing things like a Russian energy oil ban, trying to pressure for a review of World Trade Organization status before the Biden administration said that they wanted to have the most favored nation status of Russia revoked within that economic body. So Congress really has been keeping the pressure on here, and I imagine after they hear from Zelenskyy, we'll hear lawmakers continue to do that.
Yeah, and we know Congress passed that $13.6 billion aid package last week, but Republicans, even some Democrats, are calling on the Biden administration to transfer fighter jets to Ukraine. Why is there such a push for this, and what is the president saying about it?
Look, there's a lot of pressure from lawmakers to the White House, but also messaging to the international community that the U.S. wants to appear as a steadfast ally to Ukraine. They are hearing the things that the Ukrainian president is asking for. Among them are, as you mentioned, those jets from Poland that the U.S. said that they are not going to support that deal. Nevertheless, that pressure campaign is still on, and there's still conversations about what setting up a no-fly zone in Ukraine would look like as well. So these conversations have frankly been happening for weeks, but what we're likely to see tomorrow is a reinvigoration of that because of Zelenskyy speaking to this body. That is one of the things that he's been saying consistently, and I think that that's what the White House and lawmakers alike are ready to hear from him again.
And of course, Zelenskyy will be speaking to Congress, but I have to assume President Biden will also be listening. And do we know if there are any plans for those two to have another call anytime soon?
I feel like you're right there, Joe. The White House, of course, will be listening closely to what's happening on the other side of Pennsylvania Avenue. Our colleagues, though, in the White House unit have reported that there is talk about sending the president overseas, potentially to Europe or to Brussels, to meet with allies to continue these conversations that he's been having about Ukraine and Russia, but doing so in person. There's no timeline set on that. It's in the early stages, but certainly a notable development as we watch the U.S. continue to take a leadership role on the world stage here, trying to keep allies on the same page, marking in lockstep in support of Ukraine and against Russia.
We'll have to keep an eye and see if that trip comes together. All right, Ali, thank you so much.
Now, the refugee crisis along Ukraine's borders with Eastern Europe is showing no signs of letting up. Nearly 3 million Ukrainians have now fled the country, and more than 1.7 million have entered Poland alone. since Russia's invasion began nearly 3 weeks ago. NBC News senior national correspondent Jay Gray joins us now from the border of Poland and Ukraine. Jay, good morning. So today, what's the situation like on the ground where you are?
You know what, Savannah, we talk every day, and I was prepared to tell you that things had dipped a bit, that we weren't seeing quite as many people making the walk across the border. But I want you to take a look down the line, and you can see it is packed here. The line stretches further than we can see at this point, and it's been building throughout the morning. Moms and children coming across, many saying that they've waited quite some time to get here and now are making this move. This line has been stationary for the most part for the better part of several hours. Again, I've been here for the better part of 3 weeks. I'm overwhelmed by the amount of people we're seeing, and we've seen some large lines here. Of course, they're all waiting in line to get to the bus up here, and you can see people starting to load on the bus right now. That will just, though, simply take them to a train station, and that's one of the key issues here, Savannah. So many people not sure where they're going to end up, sure that they need to get to safety, but once they get here just across the border, it becomes very difficult, really just the beginning of their journey.
Yeah, Jay, I mean, this looks markedly different than yesterday morning. Has this developed just in the last few hours?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we got here early this morning, and what we saw were waves of refugees coming through, just people coming through, families, a few families at a time, and then they started to pick up and continued to pick up. And part of the issue here is that, the buses, it's hard to get buses to come through, and so they do what they can to try and move people along. But yeah, it's amazing how much it's picked up over the last, I'd say 2.5 hours, Savannah.
Wow. Jay, we're learning about a new plan. Let's talk about getting a little bit further than Poland from the United Kingdom that will pay its citizens to house Ukrainian refugees. I mean, when you see a line like that, you understand how many homes just are needed to open up for these people. More than 43,000 British citizens have actually already signed up for the program. Do you think plans like these would help the situation? That line we're seeing behind you, these people find places to go in countries that are a little bit further than Eastern Europe?
There is no question, and it's something that they've been asking for Polish officials for the last week or so. We've talked about the idea that Krakow and Warsaw are running out of places for people to stay long term. They've got plenty of shelters where people can get a couple of nights sleep and kind of plan out where they're going. But this is exactly the type of program that they've been asking for, and so it's a welcome relief to those here in Poland, but it's also something they say they're going to need much more of. It's been amazing to see the outpouring of support, but again, it's just, I mean, when you see this, it's just not enough at this point, Savannah. I know that sounds simple, but that's the way it is right now.
Hey, Jay, also Mariupol, just a total humanitarian crisis there. Quickly tell us, I mean, we know they were able actually finally to evacuate civilians in a convoy of 160 cars yesterday. Have you seen any refugees there from there at this point?
Yeah, not to this point. We've been asking, but remember, it's still a tough go. It's a pretty long way away, and they've got to get through other checkpoints, Russian checkpoints. The roads in some areas are destroyed, so it may be a while before we do.
All right, Jay Gray, thank you so much. We'll continue checking in with you.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.